One of the black boxes for me when I started working in development was the terminal. How do you customize the prompt? How do you interact with your shell? How do you work a lot quicker in it? And there's one tool that's really helpful if you're on macOS especially, or anytime you're using ZSH, and that is the framework OhMyZsh. Now, OhMyZsh is a framework on top of ZSH that gives you a bunch of extra functionality. You get aliases and functions out of the box, and on top of that, you also get access to a bunch of really cool plugins that help you be more efficient with services like Git or VS Code or anything else you might have access to. Finally, it gives you access to some of those really cool prompts via the themes that come pre-installed. In this video, I want to both help you get quickly up and running with OhMyZsh and also see the benefits of it right away. You ready? Let's jump in. Hey, what's up? My name is Chris, and welcome to Coding in Public, where I teach through what I'm currently learning. Here I've got the OhMyZsh documentation on the right and my terminal of choice warp on the left. Now to get started, you're just going to click this install OhMyZsh, which will take you to this curl command. If you're using macOS, which you can see it works best with macOS or Linux, you can also use Homebrew if you want to, but I'll just use this because this should work for either use case. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and create, if you don't already have one, a .zshrc file. This is the configuration file for that shell, ZSH. The shell will actually read this, figure out how it should present itself, and then it will customize things like your prompt or your themes or other aliases or things like that. If you already have one, it will replace it. So you can see that's exactly what it's done up here. It's gone ahead and created a replacement one and then set up this .zshrc file at the root of my directory. And then I've got this backup if I ever want to go backwards. Now, why would you actually want to use OhMyZsh? Well, let me click over to the documentation and show you some of the immediate benefits you'd get. So let me scroll all the way down here, and you're going to see that they encourage you to look at several things here. I'm going to start with the last one, which is this cheat sheet. Now, you get several helps automatically as soon as you start to work with OhMyZsh. So you can see here, I can just type in alias, for instance, and I see all the aliases available to me. So it'll actually read them all out, including any plugins I happen to have. Another one that I really like is this take one, which will both make a directory and move you into it all in one step. So for instance, if I were to come in here and I were to cd into my Coding in Public directory, then I were to just type take sample like this, it will actually create the folder and drop me directly into it. Really, really nice. You've also got some other things when it comes to directories. So for instance, I can just type in cd and that will take me immediately to my home directory, or I can go up with 2, it takes me up 1 directory, or 3 takes me up 2 directory, 4 is 3, etc., etc. Now, sometimes you just want to quickly switch between directories, and you can do that with this dash right here. So if I type dash, it will just drop me back into the sample folder. So again, this is extra stuff that OhMyZsh gives you on top of the shell ZSH. Now I can also look at all the directories I visited recently with the D command. You can see here I've got 3 right here. So I can just now do cd dash and then whatever number represents whatever I want to move into. So if I want to move into my Coding in Public directory, just like that, drops me right inside there. So lots of cool functions and lots of cool aliases available by default with OhMyZsh. Now, on top of these kind of default things you get, you also can install different themes and plugins. Plugins add functionality. Themes basically customize your prompt to look cool. Now, you can also look at external themes or external plugins, but let's just focus on the ones that come default because they're installed automatically. You don't have to do anything extra. So for instance, if I were to jump in here to my plugins, you'll notice that all of these are installed by default. That means if I want to use any of them, all I have to do is add them to the plugins value here inside of my .zshrc file. So I could open this up in my code editor. For instance, if I did code and then like this .zshrc file. Now by default, you'll see this theme right here. What we're going to look at first though are the plugins. So if I come all the way down this way, one plugin is enabled by default, and that is the Git plugin. To add additional ones, you could add things like VS Code, and you can just add it directly like that. So no commas or anything like that. You'll just add them as they exist. Now, where are you going to find those? Well, if I come over here, it's any of these right here. So for instance, we looked at VS Code. Let me come all the way down to the bottom, and this one right here. So if I open this up, what you'll notice is that this gives me a bunch of really quick access points, aliases for using VS Code inside of my shell. So for instance, VSC opens code and then whatever the current directory is. So in other words, it will just open that in VS Code. One of my favorite things to do, because I have multiple profiles, is to open it with different profiles. And again, you can just do that, give the profile name afterwards, and we'll immediately open it in that custom profile. Now you might find some other ones useful. So like here is npm. And if I open this up right here, you see that this gives me things like npmg, which will just globally install all the dependencies. Or again, you can install them all as dev dependencies here as well. So just slight aliases that speed you up as you put them under your fingers. Now, obviously, you're not going to memorize all of these, but if there's some in particular that you find helpful, it can be really quick and easy to get started with these. Now, the one that comes by default is the Git extension or the Git plugin right here, and you'll notice there's a bunch of them, but this is the one that comes kind of pre-enabled by default, and you'll notice it gives you some really quick access points. Now, you may be used to working with Git in the GUI, and that's just fine, but you can see how you can just do like GA, and that will Git add everything. And one of my favorite ones is actually Git checkout branch. So whenever you're creating a new branch, you can check it out from your current code. So for instance, just GCB, and then whatever the new name of the branch is that you want to create, and it will create that for you automatically. Again, you're not going to memorize all of these, but if there's things you do regularly, it's really helpful to just use these quick aliases. And again, if you ever want to know what those are, you can just type alias and it will show you all of those available to you. How do you enable those? Well, once again, all you do is add them directly here and then save your .zsh file. Now, it's important that whenever you reload this or save it or do anything to it, you actually usually have to restart your terminal to ensure that it works. The other thing you can do is you can source it. So if you do source like this, and again, go to your .zsh file, then it will actually reload that in your terminal. All right, so we've looked at some of the default aliases and functions you get. We've looked at some of the plugins that you can enable by default that come installed whenever you install OhMyZsh. Now let's look a little bit at the themes, because right now this prompt is looking a little bit sad, and we can update it with a bunch of options. Now by default, it uses this one right here, this Robbie Russell, and you can see that it doesn't have a lot going on, but you can just come through here and look at any other ones you might want. So for instance, I might want to use the Apple one. If I come back over this way, all I have to do is scroll up to the top and replace this right here with Apple. Come back over here, and you know the drill. Now that we've changed it, we have to source it once again. And now you see I've got this nice little Apple symbol. Now, it is important to note that sometimes you need special fonts that have ligatures that allow you to see some of these symbols. Generally speaking, if you go to Nerd Fonts, like this, you'll find all the Nerd fonts here usually work with any of these, and you can just download them and install them, and then most of these should work for you automatically. You don't have to use one of these. You can actually have your own custom prompt as well if you'd like to. That would work the exact same way, and ZSH has lots of different options when it comes to working with prompts. It's just that OhMyZsh gives you tons of these by default. Any of these you can just install just like this, and they'll install for you automatically. So if you, for instance, want whatever this one does, you can do that and resource it and just kind of test it out. You can also even use a random one here. You can see this gives me my full username and path. Some of these work best with Git. Some of these work best with Ruby. It just kind of depends on what your use case is. What do you want to see in your custom prompt? Now, one of the most popular ones is one called Agnoster, like this. And I've used this one before. And again, you can just come over here and you can source it once again. So OhMyZsh is super helpful when it comes to working with ZSH. It's a framework on top of it that adds a bunch of custom aliases and functions for you automatically. It gives you plugins to do things more quickly and more efficiently inside of the terminal. Then it also gives you access to cool prompts via these themes. All of it uses the .zshrc file to customize your ZSH experience. And like I mentioned, there are a bunch of external themes you can use, or you can also use external plugins. There's a bunch of really popular ones like autocomplete, but I'll let you check those out if you want to. Hey, well, I hope that was a huge help. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Happy coding.